Not so fast, Gregory Robert Wilmot. Let's be clear on this, alright? The last time we played a game from this franchise, the last time that we even thought about that word in a gaming atmosphere, apocalypse happened. This is what happened. T-shirts are gonna be made because of it. People won't stop saying to it when they see us. I'm tired of it. I don't want any more, Greg. We're done. The jokes aren't even that funny. I'm not finished yet. You let me finish. I want to say this because it's been building in me like a rage and I want to let it out, okay? So here I go. Today, we're going to review this game. It's going to be amazing and everyone's going to love it. But we're going to do it without you saying that word. That word will not be said, Greg. Do you understand? I'm not finished. I'm not finished. You mutter that word one more time. One more time! You're done. You're done. And you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna ruin all your sculptures. And that's it! No more! Do you understand me? No more sculptures!
Beach! Do you want to go to the beach? It's a beautiful day outside.
Oh, Greg. Listen, I'm sorry I exploded.
Right? Yeah.
I didn't mean anything by it, you know, I thought that you were gonna say
Bears! 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 This is gonna be good.
yes!
Banjo Tooie. Why is this game so dark?
Welcome to the final game in the month of sequels right here on the Completionist. You guys probably saw this coming from a mile away, but Banjo Tooie, here we are, a year and a half later, finally reviewing this sequel. And the big important thing about this game is that I have never played Banjo Tooie. So yes, this is literally a blind review, first impressions.
Bears!
Damn it, Greg! I'm tired of the bear jokes already, man!
Hey, sorry, man.
Can you just get off my back?
Hey, well, this is where I'm supposed to be.
No, it's not. And I'm trying to have a conversation with you, okay? Can you please talk to me?
I'm trying to peck your head.
Can we have this conversation later?
I'm trying to do the.
I don't appreciate when you're not talking to me. Greg. Banjo Tooie. Not only is this one of the most anticipated game reviews from us here on the show, but I remember this being one of the most anticipated game sequels to ever come from an N64 game. The original gave us everything we wanted and then some. We craved more. But Batman! Bears! Bears! Bears everywhere! I am so happy! I'm so happy I can cry. Bear tears. Oh man, I'm really worried about this one, guys. I really feel like we're gonna go overboard with this whole bear jokes thing. In fact, it's not even bear jokes, it's just us saying the word bears. You know what? Before this gets out of hand, I'm going to nip it right in the bud. Greg, I forbid you from saying the word bears in this entire review. Are those bear tears?
Don't rub it in, you laser clown.
Banjo-Tooie's story picks up right where Banjo-Kazooie's story left off. There's a big spoiler here in a second, so prepare yourselves. Or better yet, take this time right now to refresh yourself on the story of Banjo-Kazooie by watching our infamous review on it. No! Okay, moving on. Alright, so the story begins with our heroes, Banjo and Kazooie, hanging out with Mumbo and Bottles, and they're all playing poker. And meanwhile, outside, there's an earthquake and a large drilling machine that breaks through the wall, right next to where Gruntilda was buried beneath a giant boulder from the first game. 2 witches emerge from the machine, and it turns out to be Gruntilda's sisters, Mingella and Blobelda. They release skeleton Gruntilda from her grave, and in a fit of rage, they then blast Banjo's house with deadly magic. Everyone escapes except for Bottles. Poor Bottles, you were far too young.
I don't wanna wait for our lives to lay over. I want to know right now, what will it be?
Our 2 heroes quickly move into the Jintao village and find out from the king of the Jintaos that once again, all the Jintaos have been scattered and must be rounded up once again. Soon after you leave, you find out that Gruntilda and her sisters plan to suck the life out of everything and return Gruntilda to her former lively self. They use a machine known as BOB to suck the life from the king, and he then gets turned into a zombie. And once again, our heroes must save the day from certain zombie doom.
Looks like this should have been called Dead Polar Rising.
Really? Polar? That's your way of getting around saying bears?
You've posed me with a challenge, so I'm taking it.
Now, I just have to say that this is an extremely depressing way to start a kid's game. Evil returns, a village has been torn apart, their king essentially murdered, and Bottles gets toasted within minutes of the game. And not to mention, when you go visit Bottles' family, his wife, his 2 kids, they have no idea what happened to him. He's been slain! This game constantly reminds you of the bad events that happened to Bottles. It just makes it have that much more of a darker feel. This is where the game starts to brighten up just a little bit. Rare, being in their heyday at the time, did a wonderful job designing this game. And just so everyone knows, this is the Xbox 360 remake. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that at the time, Rare had probably the most well-designed game in the business. Yeah, I know there's going to be a fair amount of disagreement here, but I really believe it. It makes me miss those days.
Golden bears, go, wop, wop, wop.
You lose. Good day, sir. You said bears.
Hey, you said nothing about singing, buddy.
Crap. The world in this game feels huge. There are so many areas to visit, and each and every one had a very unique feel to it. Unfortunately, none of the levels really stuck out and were really memorable, like Mumbo's Mountain was in Banjo-Kazooie. You no longer enter worlds through a small, themed area, but it all is a part of the zone itself. Each zone is decently sized, even before you get to the main quest area. Now actually, my only criticism here is that sometimes the world just felt too big. With no overworld or map to really go by, I did get lost quite a few times when I started the game. All the character models are pretty well designed, and just like in Banjo-Kazooie, there are a handful of characters that are just flat out annoying. And that brings me to the voiceover work. Once again, the traditional voiceovers have been tossed aside, and every character has their unique and over-repeated sound effects as their voices. And let me tell you, as a fan of the Final Fantasy series, I can deal with a lot of text, but this game is filled to the brim with speech bubbles to read. And to say the very least, I was pretty disappointed to find out that Gruntilda no longer rhymes with her sentences. But of course, Kazooie is once again up to her old tricks with her rude and hilarious one-liners. Another area that Rare really shines in is their musical composition. They created some very iconic tracks in the first installment, and they did not disappoint in its sequel. It is filled with tons of fun and catchy tracks that match the genre feel and even speed of the areas they're played in. Overall, Banjo-Tooie does a good job at sharpening up what Banjo-Kazooie had to offer. Here's where Rare stays tried and true to the original brilliant format of Banjo-Kazooie. Well, for the most part. Right from the get-go, you feel almost as if Banjo-Tooie is basically Banjo-Kazooie. The controls are that similar, but in a great way. You even start off with all of your old moves, including the ability to fly. This really helps with the transition from the first installment to the second. There is some new added to keep things interesting control and ability-wise, and yes, once again, you do need to collect musical notes in order to learn new abilities. However, since Bottles is dead,
I don't wanna wait
You will learn moves from his brother Jam Jar. The notes also count towards your endgame percentage. Banjo and Kazooie can even hang on ledges, smash boulders, and shoot all different kinds of eggs. Some very useful stuff here. There are so many new moves, I'll just go ahead and do a quick visual montage of them all.
You're the best clown, cutting all the evil people down. You're the best clown, shoot people up to shoot them down.
Speaking of new controls, there is one aspect of this game that I did not really enjoy gameplay-wise. It's what I call Banjo-Kazooie the first-person shooter. Yep, I know I did not expect it when I first played this game. At first, it just feels really quick, gimmicky, but then you find yourself going through these FPS segments over and over again. Let me tell you, some of them are probably the most frustrating events in the game. And don't even get me started on the dynamite hunting missions. Ugh, a pure pain in the ass. I think I didn't like this new aspect too much because not only was it completely unexpected, but also felt a little bit forced. Like they were developing a new Banjo-Kazooie game, and then suddenly they saw how popular FPSs were getting, and they wanted to kind of crossbreed right there. I don't know, it's just my 2 cents.
Call of Duty, Black Bear Ops.
There it is again.
Nope, I said Black Bear, as in one word. Not just the, it was in the script. I read it. It's one word.
I'm really growing tired of this. Another bit of old but new was that they added how each world is unlocked. Yep, there's still jiggies.
Getting jiggy with it.
But they are used in a slightly different way. Instead of just throwing pieces that you have collected into a random puzzle, it is now a minigame. When you have the appropriate amount of puzzle pieces, you can then visit the almighty, all-knowing, all-seeing God, Master Jiggy Wiggy, in his temple. There, you can go to the same golden puzzle arrangement you see each and every time, and then compete in the minigame challenge to unlock a new area. All of these are very simple, even if they do increase the amount of puzzle pieces you end up using. This minigame does stem from the original Banjo-Kazooie, so if you've played it, it's not that different. You all know the drill when it comes to completing a level in a Banjo-Kazooie type game. 100 notes, 10 jiggies, the Jin Taos, you all get that. But what's important to note this time around is that some of these quests are pretty damn hard. For instance, let's take Canary Mary. Canary Mary is, starting out, one of the easier quests. However, towards the very end of the game, say goodbye to your hand. Just say goodbye to it, because holy crap, the X button, your hand's gonna hurt. Let's just say that. You're gonna feel the frustration. In Banjo-Kazooie, you could only play as Banjo and Kazooie. However, they added one new playable character, everyone's favorite shaman, Mumbo Jumbo. By collecting little magic animals called Globos, Mumbo will help you out by casting magic that will help Banjo-Kazooie progress throughout the level. It's a nice little change of pace, and it gives the game a nice little bit of variety. Now I know you're asking yourself, if Mumbo no longer does the transformations, then who does? The answer is one sexy sweet shaman girl named Humba Wumba. And what does she turn you into, you ask? Well, there's actually a lot. There's a submarine, a little mini stone golem statue, a bank truck, and even the washing machine makes another reappearance. Like Mumbo, she also accepts Globos as well. I wonder what I would turn into if I was transformed into something. A shoe? Really? I'm a shoe? Wait, I'm a shoe. Greg, no! Greg, no! No! There are tons of things to collect. There are the musical notes, the jiggies, different kinds of feathers, different eggs, and a few different kinds of honeycomb variations. You can also collect empty honeycomb pieces and turn them into honeybee to raise your overall health meter. Cheeto, Gruntilda's secret spellbook from the first game, is also back, and he has all of his pages torn out. If you can find 5 pages, he will grant you a secret code that actually don't really break the game, but only help you more. Kazooie's different shoe power-ups are back too, with 2 new ones. The Springy Step shoes, which let you jump really high, and the Claw Clamber boots, which lets you walk up very steep inclines.
And our buddies the Jintaos are back, just about everywhere you look.
Everywhere you look, there's a heart, a hand to hold on to. Everywhere you look, there's a face of somebody who needs you. Everywhere you look, when you're lost out there and you're all alone, an island's waiting to carry you home. Everywhere you look.
There are a lot of special items and pads that have returned from the first game, such as Kazooie's jumping platform and the flight platform. One of the new ones includes Mumbo's pad, where you can use Mumbo to conjure special magic to change the atmosphere or help others. There's also the split up pads, where you can separate Banjo and Kazooie from one another. They themselves even get unique moves they can only do when they're by themselves. Banjo can take a nap in his backpack, and Kazooie can practice being a surrogate mother by rubbing her butt on stuff. But the big kicker to these skills is that by separating the pair, you cannot do some of the traditional platforming skills, making it more challenging. One thing that I've learned is that Banjo can really mess up some guys with his backpack.
Man, look at him go! Srame!
What the hell is that? Oh, I see what you did there, yes. It's bears backwards. Another extremely useful and time-saving pad are the warp pads. There are a few of these scattered throughout each level, and they really help you fast travel within the game. And lastly, there are Jam Jar silos, which let you fast travel across the island through the different zones. Very useful for how huge this world really is, and be prepared for a lot of back traveling because you cannot collect all the Jiggies in each world on the first run, because some Jiggies require you to have skills that you get from other levels. Thank the all-knowing, seeing, and loving God Jiggy Wiggy for all those silos. Boss fights are pretty fun for the most part, with a little dash of frustration here and there. Now, one cool thing I did appreciate is how some boss fights actually have counters, so you can see how well you're doing in a boss fight. Now, something I didn't jump into much was the multiplayer. There wasn't anything to complete here, so I wasn't too worried about it. The games aren't the best, but they do provide a lot of fun if you've got some friends with you. I really appreciate that Rare was really trying to knock one out of the park, but some of it did seem a little bit overkill, and it does get more difficult and expansive as you go. While some levels were a blast to play, others
Gruntilda Industries.
were pretty damn difficult, drawing out the length a little too long for my tastes. Congratulations, you collected everything! Or at least I hope you did, because that's the point of playing this game and watching the show, and yay! After you defeat Klungo one last time, you move on to the quiz round. Now in classic Banjo-Kazooie style, it's time to answer mundane questions again. It isn't exactly a board game, but it is a quiz show. Now if you have been paying attention to most of the details throughout the game, you shouldn't have any trouble getting past this part and defeating Gruntilda's sisters.
Boy, you're smarter than a koala.
You're not even trying anymore, are you?
Lay off me, this is difficult.
After defeating Gruntilda's sisters, it's time to celebrate in the fact that you only have one thing left to do, and that's to fight Gruntilda. But of course, you have your little fun jokes of the game ending too soon and all that whatnot. It's pretty awesome. Bring back King Jintao, bring back bottles, and then have a party, of course. But Banjo and Kazooie aren't going to party yet. They've got to deal with one last thing. Gruntilda. This time around, she's in her evil drill machine called the Hag 1. This actually was one of the easier boss fights in the game, especially if you have the Cheeto pages. I mean, it just makes this fight kind of a joke, but enjoyable nonetheless. There's a ton of stuff to go over, so I'm gonna try and be quick, but you know how this goes. The completion aspect of this game is very weird as it requires you to have a few things. First off, having all the notes in the Jiggies gives you the completion bonus of the character parade. After you beat the game, you can go into the replay menu and play that character parade. A fun little goodbye segment to all the characters you've seen in the game. Second, the stop and swap stuff from Banjo-Kazooie starts to take in effect. Now I admit, when I booted up my Banjo-Tooie game save, I was shocked when Hedgie the Hen told me that I needed to go back and play Banjo-Kazooie first, Snitch, please! I already completed this game and I got all the items. Why aren't you picking up my game save? It turns out you must own a copy of Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts in order for the content to cross over. Otherwise, it is locked within each game. I forked over $15 for a copy of Nuts and Bolts just so that my items would cross over from Banjo-Kazooie into Banjo-Tooie. Once crossover, go give Hedgie the 6 eggs you've collected. Hedgie will then sit and break open the 6 eggs. While I thought the eggs would simply give you something for Nuts and Bolts, they actually give you stuff for this game. You get a Banjo-Kazooie Xbox theme, a gamer profile picture, the cheat code for homing eggs, another skill in which you can use Kazooie as a bat. You can now play as the Jintown multiplayer. And you do get one item for Stop and Swap meant for Nuts and Bolts. So all in all, not that bad for completing stuff from Banjo-Kazooie. To add on to completion progression, you can also collect Nintendo 64 cartridges that are scattered throughout the overworlds. These cartridges have additional Stop and Swap items for Nuts and Bolts. Defeating the cartridge as well as completing certain in-game tasks will grant you these Stop and Swap 2 items. Some of these items not only require you to have Nuts and Bolts, but you also need the DLC for Nuts and Bolts.
But Batman, what about the ice key from Banjo-Kazooie?
There is a vault located in Hailfire Peaks that can be opened if you acquired the ice key from Banjo-Kazooie. Opening said vault will give you a Mega Globo, which you can then give to Wumba in the overworld. Giving her this Globo will turn Kazooie into a mother snitching dragon. That is right, Kazooie's a dragon and she can breathe fire all over the place. Pretty freaking sweet if you ask me. While I love Banjo-Kazooie, and now after blindly playing through Banjo-Tooie and really enjoying it, I have to say, I still enjoy the first one a little bit more, but the second one does do a fantastic job. And the great news is that if you completed Banjo-Kazooie, then that completionist payoff will finally come through here in Banjo-Tooie. In the classic Rare style, this game is huge. There are so many things to collect and so many activities and events to complete. It can get really nerve-wracking and overwhelming. To be honest, it just felt like it was too much of a good thing. The upside of all this is that each level is so beautifully designed, sometimes you don't mind spending hours in each world. But sometimes the grind to get through it was a little untakeable. No, that's not the word. Unenjoyable. That's no
Unbearable! Unbearable! A bears! A berry! A bear, 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 bearston! A bear! A bear Terminator! Bear! Bear! Banjo and bear, bear, bear!
I knew you couldn't take it.
I regret nothing.
Overall, I felt as happy as a teddy bear in the forest after playing through Banjo-Tooie. Yes, some of the levels were pretty grisly, but it's okay. After it was all said and done, I feel like I can hibernate for a while after going through a long and cold winter through some of these levels. I really pulled the honey out of this beehive. Man, I really want a Coke.
Really? 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 You get to bears! Feels good, don't it?
I think we hit the Bear Joe quota.
Banjo-Tooie is one of the first sequels I've ever played that demonstrates how amazing the first game is and improves drastically on the second while creating a better feel to it. The levels are a lot longer and a lot more difficult. The overall theme of the game is a lot darker, which for kids may be a little weird, but for me as an adult, I personally loved it. And the best part is that it felt like a brand new game, even though we had gone through so much in the first game. But completion-wise, I still don't see a real big payoff for it, so with that in mind, guys, this game gets my completionist rating of...
Finna
Bears!
bears it.
I'm a bird. I forget you're in my back all the time. I can't... Can we... That's all the time we have today, guys, so please, as always, leave your positive and negative comments in the box below. Don't forget to face Twit Tamblegram, follow us on Twitch, because we do live stream all the time, and don't forget to leave your game suggestions for the future of the show. Finally, the month of sequels is over. I can move on. No more bear jokes, no more Catherine. I'm ready for March. I'm so ready for March. I feel like playing a game that might take me back a few years. not too far back, but long enough to enjoy it. Something that is a new take on a franchise we already know. Something that I haven't reviewed on the show. Now if you excuse me. Did you guys hear that?